So, can we turn to Spencer for a second, just to sort of
Sure.
open open that up? I mean, you're such a departure in like multiple ways, right? From by race, disciplinary
Hmm.
heritage, maybe even the first president west of the Mississippi,
Right. That too.
generationally, right?
My hire was this clear signal that the board was really serious about taking issues of inequality and equity and race seriously. And that part of it was daunting because on the one hand, as a foundation president, you're stewarding a thing, right? Like you're stewarding a legacy. And the Spenser legacy is about rigor. It's about being in deep intellectual partnership with the field. It's about funding research widely and having a deep, deep, deep respect and love for scholarship and educational research.
My sense of Hewlett was that, it's DNA. I'm not sure I was right about this, but it was my sense of it at the time that its DNA was about looking for very technical solutions to the pressing problems of education
Yeah.
improvement in the country, right? To me, those technical matters are there, but this is a competition for the hearts and minds of the adults relative to the kids. It's a competition of the hearts and minds for a group of people with resources and privilege
Mhm.
to care more about people without privilege and resources. And I just felt like I was in a better institutional context to work on the problem the way I understand it than to go to Hewlett. Well, I met Larry Kramer, and he persuaded me, that this is a place that you can come to, uh,
Mhm.
and if you do your best thinking
Mhm.
and work hard, that you'll have the tools that you can go after the things that you care about
Yeah.
in the ways that you want to go after them. And so I said yes.
I mean, it's important in any job, right, to be working in a place where you feel like you can trust
Yeah.
leadership. But I think it's particularly important when you are a leader of color leading an organization that hasn't historically been led by a leader of color, because that trust in your sensibilities, in your values, and you brought to Hewlett a deeper and fuller kind of equity lens from my vantage point. And so knowing that the hire isn't just about so then they can check the box and say, okay, we got one, right? That it's actually about really honoring what that means for the perspectives that you bring. And in some ways, your deep equity lens requires a much a much more complex diagnosis of the problem of the problems of education.
I do think it's right. Um, and um, and I'm probably still anxious uh, about. There's no question I've sort of made the problem more complicated. I'm rather inclined to say it this way, Naila. I've endeavored to reveal
Yes.
the complexity
Yes.
that is real, that
Yeah.
is actually there,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Which, of course, then makes trying to work on it from a philanthropic perch more complicated,
Right.
right?
Right.
I mean, the incentives, um, oddly, in philanthropy, I would argue, push you to run away from the complexity. I'm sort of proud of the moves I've tried to make to engage the complexity that is real.
Yeah.
And I'm more than a little anxious about how to develop the impact story
Mm-hmm.
that I know Hewlett wants to be able to tell,
Yeah.
right? And we work for defined periods of time, which
Right.
gives
Right.
me even more urgency, right? With respect to that, I don't want to be one of the few people of color to sort of come in and lead a program and then do it so badly that the only thing I persuaded the foundation is they should turn their attention to a different problem.
Well, I think, I don't, I hear you that I hear that because that's always the anxiety, right? That like,
Right.
I'm not going to live up to this thing.
That's right. That's right.
Especially when your hire has these symbolic aspects to it where people are like, um, really rooting for you and wanting to see what you're going to do that's going to be different. But I imagine the more realistic risk around the impact measurability problem is that when you're working on these complex problems of inequality, of racial inequality, you plant the seeds that then get built upon. And whether those seeds are changing the discourse of how we're diagnosing the problem, of building new kinds of knowledge sharing networks and collaborations for school leaders, that stuff is the things you're going to do that are going to create real change. There's a longer time horizon to that change. And I guess the question is, um, are we comfortable understanding that problems like racial inequality that took generations to build and seed into the fabric of the United States may take generations to get out of? And our job isn't to fix it, because that's not feasible. And if we think we can do that, then we're fooling ourselves and trying to fool everybody else with us. But our job is to turn the tide and build and figure out what some of the core building blocks are.
Hewlett does take the long view
Mm-hmm,
of
mm-hmm,
things, right? Um, and I think this sort of nuanced dance between picking really important and complex problems and working on them over time, um, while bringing fresh eyes periodically
mm-hmm.
to those problems, right? Sort of along the way. So I'm not super worried. I mean, there's a sort of measure of personal accountability, about the things I want to make sure happen. But I'm not super worried that Hewlett's going to turn and run, in
Yeah,
just a few years. In fact, one might argue that the foundation is kind of visibly making bigger commitments around questions of race and equity and justice,
yeah, yeah.
extend beyond the education program.